yet another weekend off. We think he'll be back next weekend.
Maybe so.
Again, we think.
Yeah.
We don't know. It's a week-to-week thing now. Hey there, I am Steve West. That is Matt Nicholson. Welcoming to it. Hey, welcome to July. Oh, I'm sorry, it's June. It only feels like July. Good night, oh my. Yeah, if you're down in the southeast where we're based, it's toasty. And we should be, they say, seeing triple digits by the end of this coming week.
Make sure you use your appropriate spices and butter injected because you're going to be roasting it next week.
You know it. Feel like a butterball already.
Yep.
We're going to be talking to the man from our flagship radio station, Grady Sapp. He is out at Talladega Superspeedway. They are doing a situation where if you give them $50 for local charities, you get to take your own car around the track at Talladega Superspeedway. So you get a chance to feel like a little bit, not fully. I mean, you're not going to be going 188, 190 miles an hour.
Even though we wish.
Oh, sure. But you're going to get a chance to at least feel what it's like to be up in the 33-degree ranking at Talladega Superspeedway. Matt and I have done this a couple of times, but we're just going to let you experience it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. If you have the chance to do it, go ahead and do it today. We'll talk to Grady here in just a little bit. Plenty to get to, so let's go ahead and get started.
Yep.
Okay, how long have we said, Matt, that anytime we see Kyle Busch on the entry list of an Xfinity, which that's supposed to be no longer happening, he's got 101 wins now, or a Camping World Truck Series race that will pencil him in as the leader?
Pretty much since the existence of this show.
Yeah, I mean years.
Yeah.
And this show has been around in some way, shape, or form for over a decade now. Well, it was the case last Saturday, the series racing in Sonoma. Busch started the race. When it was done, he won it. Shocking. Held off a fairly insistent Zane Smith, who after the race said, "Man, I hate losing to that guy." I understand. In a two-lap run to the checkers, Busch's streak of winning at least one Camping World Truck Series race a year continues. It now sits at 10 years running. He's got 62 wins in the series and all. Holds the record, continues to extend it in that series. Smith was second, Ty Majeski third, Moonlighter Ross Chastain fourth. Then you got Chandler Smith, Carson Hocevar relieved by Daniel Suarez. We talked about that last week. Parker Kligerman, John Nemechek, Tyler Rinker, Matt DiBenedetto filling out the top 10. With Busch winning, Moonlighter win, it means no change in those that are locked into the playoffs or really much inside the top 10. Zane Smith in with 3 wins, single wins by Ben Rhodes, Chandler Smith, John Nemechek, and Stuart Friesen. They're all locked into the playoffs. Those that are in on points, Ty Majeski, Christian Eckes, Carson Hocevar, Grant Finger, Matt Crafton. Crafton with a 33-point lead over Tanner Gray for that 10th and final slot. Tanner Gray's looking at him going, so you're saying there's a chance. How much of a chance?
Well, with the limited races they've got, I don't know. You better get on it.
Yeah, because they're halfway through the season as a whole, not including the playoffs. Or including the playoffs, I should say.
Playoffs start in less than a month.
Yeah, so time's running out quick. I'm not, in looking at it, I can't say that I'm going to see much of a change inside the top 10. You might see some changes within the order, and we might get a surprise winner, but for the most part, I'm thinking the 10 that we just rattled off probably are going to be the 10 that most likely will make it.
If the surprise winner comes before the playoff starts, it's the best chance for that happening tonight.
I can see that.
Best chances tonight.
We'll get to that schedule coming up here momentarily. Sunday morning here in the U.S. last week, Formula One got running in Baku, Azerbaijan. It was hot out there. For Ferrari and those using Ferrari engines, not a great day. But Charles Leclerc did put his Ferrari on the pole. It was the 4th straight race that he did lead the field at the start. Points leader Max Verstappen started behind him in 3rd. The other Ferrari, Carlos Sainz, after he got rolling, he suffered a brake-by-wire failure on lap 9. That ended his day. Yeah, you kind of need brakes if you're in Formula 1. On lap 20, Charles Leclerc's car started blowing smoke. He yelled over the radio, problem engine. So double DNFs by lap 20 for Ferrari. And that, of course, allows the Red Bull twins to take off in the field, so we're not going to really pay much attention to them until we get to the finals. Then you get to the Ferrari customer teams. Those, of course, the Alfa Romeo and Haas F1. First up, Alfa Romeo Zhou Guanyu started showing signs of failure, causing the team to call him in. They had to retire the car on lap 24. So lap 9, lap 20, lap 24, 3 Ferrari-engined cars are gone. Oh, wait, 7 laps later, lap 31, as he was battling to get inside the top 10, Kevin Magnussen's Ferrari engine let go, so he had to retire his Haas F1. 4 of the 6 Ferrari cars end up with DNFs. That's a problem.
the engine guy in me wants to know what was Ferrari doing trying. Let me rephrase this. What was Ferrari trying that caused 4 out of 6 engines to let go?
Mm-hmm.
They had to be trying something.
Well, 3, because 1 was the brake-by-wire.
3, excuse me, yeah.
Still, that's a problem. You got to figure something out, Ferrari.
Yeah.
Big time. Verstappen wins in dominating fashion, 22nd lead over his teammate Sergio Perez at the end. Mercedes of George Russell in third, followed by his teammate Lewis Hamilton. And yes, George Russell just continues to outperform his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Who's the guy that's got 7 titles again? Because it's not seeming like he does in this particular pairing.
You mean Mr. My Back Hurts?
Yeah, which, did you watch some of that race? They showed an in-car right above his head, and he is booking down one of the straightaways, and you can just see him bouncing up and down. I understand why his back's hurting.
That's a Mercedes problem.
It is. Oh, it's a massive Mercedes problem. And, you are hurting. I mean, George Russell says that he's in pain. Lewis Hamilton says that he's in pain. When both of your drivers are complaining about pain after their races, you got a problem. And you got to figure out a way to get it fixed. And we'll get into that a little bit more during the news. Pierre Gasly in there in the top 5. Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, Lando Norris, Esteban Ocon make up your top 10. Lance Stroll had to retire his car late, so 15 of the 20 starters finished. 5 had to retire their cars on a hot day in Azerbaijan. Verstappen holding a 150 to 129 point lead in the driver's standing. Oh, by the way, with Charles Leclerc retiring, Sergio Perez, the Red Bull teammate, is now in second in points with 129. Leclerc third, 116, 99 for George Russell, 83 for Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton 62, 50 for Lando Norris, Valtteri Bottas with 40, 31 for Esteban Ocon. Pierre Gasly is up into the top 10. He's got 16 points. That knocks out Kevin Magnussen, who's been stuck at 15 since race 3. Mm-hmm. Red Bull, 279 points in the Constructors' Cup standings lead, 199 for Ferrari, 161 for Mercedes. McLaren all the way down to 65, got 47 for Alpine, Alfa Romeo with 41, 28 for AlphaTauri. Haas holds at 15. Aston Martin moves up into a tie with them at 15, and Williams holding steady at 3. Again, we've said it how many times, Haas F1 thought that they were going to be doing great things this year, and they started off looking like a house on fire. Now they look like an igloo.
Yeah. Seemed like to me they're going into experimental mode with some stuff because they started out, it seemed like basics started out like a house of cards on fire. Mm-hmm. Then they got to tweaking and stuff there, and then they crashed.
Can you figure out the way to get back to where you were at the beginning of the year becomes the question now.
B2B, and I'm not talking about business to business. Back to basics.
Right.
Get back to basics. Get your stuff together. Get it in line.
Mm-hmm.
Go, because you've proven you can run top 10 easy this year.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Indycar was up next last week. They took to the 4-mile-long road course at Road America. Joseph Newgarden and his Team Penske crew taking home a bonus $1 million. We'll get back to that. He was the first driver, by the way, we'll give you more details on this, to win on the street oval and road courses. That is the People Ready Force for Good Challenge bonus. It's kind of a brand new thing. They've always kind of gotten recognition for being the first driver. Now you actually get money for it. Mm-hmm. Newgarden grabs the lead late after a restart that was aborted by Ilio Castroneves spinning his car and stalling it out. The final restart saw Newgarden get the better of Indy 500 winner Marcus Ericsson on the jump. He claims the win. Ericsson settles for second. Alexander Rossi third. For a while it looked like he was battling for the lead. He ends up, again, third. Romain Grosjean fourth. Colton Herta, Felix Rosenqvist, Scott McLaughlin, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, rookie Christian Lundgaard, who's been impressive this year. They round out the top 10. Ericsson continues to lead the points standings. He's got 293. Will Power with 266. Joseph Newgarden's win puts him up to third, 261. Battle Award 248. Alex Palou with 246. Scott Dixon, Alexander Rossi, Felix Rosenqvist, Scott McLaughlin, Simon Pagenaud fill out the top 10. Pagenaud holding 197 points, so he's right around 100 points behind the leader inside the top 10. Mm-hmm. And that puts us to the Cup Series running out west, wrapping up the racing weekend in Sonoma. Kyle Busch, as much as he wanted to, could not claim a weekend sweep. Instead, we had a little bit of history made. Only the 5th driver born outside the United States got a win in the Cup Series. And the first Mexican-born driver, Daniel Suarez, with a popular win. And a pretty dominating one. He led 47 of the 110 laps. Chris Buescher claimed second, Michael McDowell third. Welcome to road course racing. Names that we're not necessarily used to seeing up front.
The most unsuspecting top three probably I've ever seen.
No doubt. Kevin Harvick in fourth, and he was ticked after the win, thinking that they blew a win. We'll talk about that during the news. Mm-hmm. Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, William Byron, Brad Keselowski inside the top 10. When was the last time we talked about Brad Keselowski in the top 10? Seems like an awfully long time ago.
Yep.
Another new winner means now 12 of 16 playoff spots are spoken for. Leading the way, Ross Chastain, 2 wins. Joey Logano, William Byron, Denny Hamlin also have a pair of wins. Single-time winners led by Chase Elliott. Then in seed order, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe. There's Daniel Suarez. Mm-hmm. Austin Cindric and Kurt Busch. The four that are in on points now. Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, and Eric Almirola. And Eric Almirola is not exactly what anyone would call comfortable in position number 16. He's only 7 points over Kevin Harvick for that final playoff spot. And I wouldn't look much further back because Tyler Reddick has shown strength at many points this year, and he's only 35 points back.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's safe.
No. We got a pretty good ways to go here.
Oh, yeah.
We got a pretty good ways to go here. This weekend, start the racing this afternoon. Xfinity Series running Tennessee Lottery 250 at Nashville Superspeedway.
That's next week.
I'm sorry. That is next week.
Yeah,
Are we going this week?
They're off this week. The only division run this week's Truck Series and SRX.
Oh, there you go. CBS. There you go. Has the premiere of the SRX Series running for the first time at Five Flag Speedway, Pensacola, Florida, beginning 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. Camping World Truck Series. They're getting into action on the famed Knoxville Raceway. Running the Midwest Dirt in Iowa, Clean Harbors 150, Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio beginning 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. So basically, once you get done with the SRX Series, you can flip over and you catch the end of the Truck Series.
Yep.
Which is pretty much what I'm going to be doing. Mm-hmm. Formula One making their second trek to North America this season. Going to be running the AWS Grand Prix au Canada. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, just outside of Montreal, 2.709 miles long, 14-turn course near Montreal. Airs on ESPN 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. NHRA up next. It's now that we've got NASCAR, and I get it, the Cup Series is off.
Yeah.
But now that we've gotten a situation where NASCAR is off of Fox and over on NBC, you're going to get a lot more live coverage of the finals on the Fox family of networks, like you will with the Thunder Valley Nationals at Bristol Dragway, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. As you noted, Xfinity, Cup, Indycar, Formula E all have this weekend off.
Yep.
So here's the cool thing about this. All the series that we cover on a regular basis are in season, finally.
Yep.
Cool, huh?
Sure are.
All right. Tell you what, and I hope Grady's listening, because we're going to join him at some point in time this break. We're going to go a little bit early to break here, and when we come back, we'll get into the news here, because we noted that the win by Daniel Suarez is a historic one for NASCAR. We noted he was the first driver born in Mexico and only the 5th driver born outside the U.S. to get a win in the Cup Series, what we now call the Cup Series. We'll give you the details on the other 4 when we come back and talk about it and all the other Cup news of the weekend. And again, like we said, we hope to be joining Grady Sapp out there at Talladega Superspeedway to talk about the activities that are going on for charity, where you can drive your car on the high banks at Talladega Superspeedway at some point in time very, very soon. You're listening to CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Davis Fence Sales has been serving Calhoun and Cleveland counties in East Alabama and Carroll County, Georgia since 1989, providing outstanding service and quality.
Welcome back into the show. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson. We noted just a little bit ago, Daniel Suarez win historic in NASCAR. First driver born in Mexico and only the fifth driver born outside of the U.S. to claim a win in the top series of NASCAR. First to ever do it. I know this will come as a shock to, well, probably nobody. Italian-born Mario Andretti. He was the first driver born outside of the United States to claim what we would now call a NASCAR Cup Series win. 1967 Daytona 500 to be specific. That's not a bad one to win if you're going to win it. Then came a guy by the name of Earl Ross. He won the Old Dominion 500 Martinsville Speedway late 1974. He hailed from Canada. And then we had a break. Couple of decades specifically. Juan Pablo Montoya from Brazil finally ended that streak. He claimed 2 wins during his Cup Series career, the first of which happened in Sonoma mid-2007. And then before Suarez, from down under, Marcus Ambrose, Australian, claimed 2 wins as well, both at Watkins Glen, back-to-back years, the first of the two, 2011. Now, that being said, Suarez is no stranger to winning in NASCAR, but he hasn't won in Cup until last weekend, his 195th start. But you got to remember, 2016 Xfinity Series champion. He's had kind of a strange road in Cup Series competition, let's face it. He has gone through... Is Trackhouse now his 4th team? Or his 5th?
Gibbs, Stewart Haas, Gaunt Brothers, Trackhouse. Yep,
4th. Okay. His latest team, Trackhouse, hired him on as their first driver when they debuted as a full-time team for 2021. He's been watching the team grow around him, especially with the surprise purchase of Chip Ganassi Racing last year, expanding to a second team with Ross Chastain, and he had to watch Ross Chastain, who's already won 2 races this year. But for Suarez, he was thrilled. Seemed to have kind of a big weight lifted off of his shoulders. He was excitedly rambling in his post-race interview by thanking team owner Justin Marks, his family, and others, and said, quote, "I have so many thoughts in my head right now, so happy we're able to make it work. They believed in me from day one." One more note on the win, as it makes Suarez the 40th driver in NASCAR history to claim now a win in Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck action. That's becoming a less exclusive club than it used to be, but still, you got to think, only 40 drivers, and the Truck Series is the newest of the two, starting up in the mid-1990s.
Yep.
It's still a pretty exclusive club, all things being equal.
It is pretty exclusive, but it's tough to say. And really tough to realize that 3 of the most prominent drivers in Truck Series history, Jack Sprague,
Sure.
Ron Hornaday, Mike Skinner, are not in that club.
True. They got Xfinity wins, I believe. All 3 of them do.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Jack Sprague only has Truck Series wins.
You might be right.
I know Mike Skinner has an Xfinity win.
I'm pretty certain Hornaday does.
Hornaday does too.
Yeah. And they all tried Cup at some point in time or another.
They were all in Cup at the same time.
But they couldn't seem to make that work.
Because Hornaday was with AJ Foyt, Skinner was with Childers, and Jack Sprague was just driving the, here you go kids, here's your throwback, the Haas Automation Pontiac.
Yes. Before Tony Stewart was hooked up with him.
When the car was number 0.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I do. One more bit of good news for Daniel Suarez. His boss, Justin Marks, got onto Peacock's NASCAR America. That's why there is no NBC Sports Network anymore. Remember, kids? And they decided apparently not to put it on the USA Network, so if you want to watch NASCAR America, you got to get the Peacock streaming service. I don't. Sorry. But anyway, they were talking with former Cup Series champion Dale Jarrett, Suarez, and got to talking about Suarez, who is in the final year of his current deal. But Mark said this, quote, "He's not going anywhere," adding there's a 100% chance Daniel Suarez was re-signed with us. In answer to him saying after his win this week that he was sure things would work out contract-wise. So it's just a matter of figuring out what the details are and putting pen to paper.
Yeah, pretty much, because, and anybody that wants to argue with me on that, I will gladly sit and debate you. Trackhouse is clearly... And I may even go a 1A, 1B situation here.
I could see where you're going with this.
They're arguably one of the top 2. They're one of the top Chevrolet teams now. So sole possession of number 2.
Yeah, and they're battling Hendrick for number one because I get it. Hendrick has all 4 cars in the playoffs.
They're more consistent than Hendrick.
But Trackhouse is much more consistent than Hendrick is at this moment.
And back to what I've said on this very show and these very airwaves, Justin Marks is the most dangerous car owner in the series right now.
Yeah.
And dangerous in a good way.
He's willing to go out and do what needs to be done to get the cars running.
He is very, very dangerous car owner.
Yep, I agree. And then there's the anger side of things. Let's flip the coin over from elation of Daniel Suarez to the anger of one Kevin Harvick, the 2014 Cup Series champion, who, despite finishing 4th at Sonoma last week, felt as though he should have had the win and laid the blame squarely at the feet of his pit crew. Called him out. Said after the race, quote, "Our Mustang was good. We had our minimum of once-a-week catastrophic failure on pit road and got as far back as we could, as usual. It is what it is, I guess. We didn't finish where we should have. I mean, we took away all of our chances. We should have been second at worst. But we keep screwing up every week." The trouble in Sonoma for him coming on the final pit stop. It took 22 seconds. Ouch. Crew had trouble on the left side. For comparison's sake, the other 2 stops were both in the 11.5 second range, so we know that they can do it faster. No one from Stewart Haas Racing has commented on their senior drivers' post-race comments.
I got to call that a 50-50 deal on that last stop.
Okay.
Kevin was a little bit too close to the pit wall.
Made it more difficult for them?
They had trouble getting the car jacked up.
Gotcha.
Because the jack handle was hit, about that much of the jack handle was coming in contact with the wall.
Yeah.
Trying to jack the car up.
Yeah, and if you can't get the full pump down on it, you're losing a lot.
A lot of
because these jacks are basically made to be able to jack the car up in one full pump.
Yep.
If you can't get quite a full pump, you get a pump and a half.
Pump and a half at worst.
Yeah. And when you can't get that full pump, you're going to be cranking on it for a little bit.
Yep.
That's a problem. One of his teammates, Cole Custer, he's not having such a good year on the track. I think last I heard he was 27th in points.
Yep.
But he announced this week that he had popped the question to his longtime girlfriend, Carrie Witt. She said yes, so congratulations on their engagement. Now, Cole, concentrate on what you got to do behind the wheel, because we got a lot of people now suddenly feeling like your seat is very hot.
Uh-huh. And if somebody else decides to say, I'm calling it a career, they may not only be 1, not 2, but possibly 3 seats open. Possibly.
I see that, yeah. Eric Almirola is done at the end of the year. We know that. He said that at the beginning of the year. Kevin Harvick, he's insisting he plans to continue racing next year. But looking at what we just looked at and his comments based upon that, how much more frustration can you take before you go, you know what, I don't need this in my life anymore? Because we all know he'll have a job at either NBC or Fox waiting on him when all is said and done.
Well, sure, but we know how they are and how they can throw smoke screens up.
Oh, sure.
Martin Truex Jr., sorry, but he's throwing a clear smoke screen up. I see it coming. He's done after this year.
Okay.
I see it coming.
So that's one opening at JGR, one opening at SHR.
At minimum, one.
Yeah. Again, Cole Custer may find himself on the outs because of a lack of performance.
Pending how the situation goes with Kyle Busch, could be 2.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. On the high end, I could see 2 seats open at JGR. I could see minimum 2, possibly 3 open at SHR.
Yep.
I don't see a seat opening up at RCR.
No. It's a young crew over
I see a seat being added, if anything.
I could see that, but I'm not counting on it.
We know all seats are comfortable at Hendrick.
Mm-hmm. Trackhouse is fine.
Trackhouse is fine. If anything, I see a 3rd car being added at Trackhouse.
2311, probably fine for another year. After that, I'm not going to lay any bets, but I could see them adding a car within the next couple of years.
Yeah. I don't see Roush Findlay adding a car.
No, not yet. They can't. They haven't got the 2 cars that they've got straight yet. Chris Buescher's shown some improvement, and Brad Keselowski has as well. But it's not enough for me to go, okay, yeah, let's put a 3rd car.
They're on the path, but the path is real weaving.
Yeah, it's not enough yet for me, for me to believe that they should be comfortable enough yet to go put a 3rd car in.
True. Penske's comfortable.
Yeah.
I could see possibly maybe 6 to 7 seats next year.
Carson Burton solid over at Wood Brothers?
You
haven't heard anything from him. Right?
You won't know how solid he is until after next year.
That's probably true. All right. Other milestones, Hendrick Motorsports, yeah, we just talked about them. Yeah, they didn't win, but they did become the first Cup Series organization to pass the major milestone of leading a total of 100,000 miles in Cup Series competition. Chase Elliott was the driver who actually accomplished it for the team. He was leading late in Stage 2 at Sonoma, finishing off the job that Kyle Larson had begun by getting the pole and leading the first 26 laps early in the race. They needed 50 laps led total on the day, 26 from Larson, 26 from Elliott surpasses that number. Jeff Gordon, not surprisingly, has the most laps led or most miles led for the team, 31,500 over that. Jimmy Johnson's led just shy of 24,900. Chase Elliott's in there with 5,800 plus, so there's a big gap in there. 5,100 for Jeff Bodine. Remember him, kids? Dale Earnhardt Jr., more than 4,300 miles led. Kyle Larson closing in on 4,000. This milestone adds on to last year's milestone of becoming the Cup Series most winning organization. That was accomplished when Kyle Larson won the Coca-Cola 600 last May. Mm-hmm. NASCAR handed down a couple of penalties in the wake of Sonoma. They got Cody Ware and the number 51 of Rick Ware Racing 20 points, both for the team and the driver, due to failing pre-qualifying inspection 3 times. How do you fail pre-qualifying inspection 3 times?
I mean, it's Rick Ware.
And we'll move on. The bigger one was handed down to Hendrick Motorsports and Kyle Larson. You might have noted when he lost a wheel during the race. When I saw that, I'm like, yep, here comes suspensions. And sure enough, they were handed down. 4 races for crew chief Cliff Daniels, the tire changer on the Jackman. That means unless they appeal, they are gone through New Hampshire. We're still waiting on the official release of the 2023 Cup Series schedule. But we keep getting more and more hints. Last week, we noted on the show the series wants to be bold and innovative, 2 words that were used specifically by NASCAR officials when it comes to the schedule. Last Sunday, before the Sonoma race, it was revealed that the Busch Light Clash is going to be back at the LA Coliseum next year to run on that temporary quarter-mile track. Joey Logano won there earlier this year. NASCAR making it a full-on exhibition with a 6-hour slate of racing that even had a halftime show, to speak, so to speak. LA rapper Ice Cube performed that. Sorry, I didn't watch. Ben Kennedy, who's now a NASCAR executive, said this, quote, "It was really an easy decision to go back for 2023 after the success of this year. A ton of fans came out for that event, a lot of first-time fans, a lot of young fans. You saw the USC student section, and it was packed. Really just a fun day overall. So the race is going to be the first event in the stadium in its 100th year. Yeah, the LA Coliseum, or as I like to call it, the Mausoleum, opened up in January of 1923. So the first race of year 100 will not be a football game as it is in a football stadium. It's going to be a Cup Series exhibition race. Seem a little odd to you?
Very. And then since we're right here buttoning up stuff, with Adam Stern sharing yesterday.
Oh, hang on. Before you go there. NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell checked in on the 2023 schedule as well, said they're working on it hard, said this, quote, "Hopefully something to announce in the next 6 to 8 weeks in terms of where we're going to be, and then we'll be off and running for 23. We'll continue to evolve for 2024 and beyond." And adding he expects to have, his words, one big event to announce as well. Now, we've been talking about Road America, and we're going to talk about them a little bit more here in just a little bit. They're in the last year of their deal with NASCAR, and there's a lot of speculation about what could take the place of Road America should they fall off the schedule, and that brings us to Adam Stern of Sports Business Daily.
The tweet shared at 11:45 a.m. yesterday. Quote, NASCAR is getting closer to announcing God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Announcing a new street race in Chicago that would start next year per sources. Not yet clear who would lose a race, but NASCAR appears to open to dropping a road course, and Road America does not have a deal yet for 2023. There were 487 responses to this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Effectively, 485 of the 487 either said, keep Road America at all costs, or get rid of Texas.
Wow. Texas. That's interesting.
There's a lot of people that's not happy with Texas right now because of how the product...
Well, yeah, and I understand that. I mean, we saw the All-Star race.
Oh, yeah. I'll go back to what I said a couple weeks ago. Between the All-Star race at Texas and the Coca-Cola 600, it was clearly established it's not a car problem. It's a track problem.
Yeah. And they've been messing with the track a little bit too much.
Way too much.
You know, I mean, kudos and points for being inventive and coming up with two different bankings on the two different sides of the track and all that, but it's not paying off.
They did it to Kentucky, and look what it did to Kentucky.
Yeah,
It ruined Kentucky.
Off the schedule, totally.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it unfairly affected Chicagoland Speedway as well.
Yeah,
I would like to see a race with this car at Chicago.
Chicagoland Speedway.
Chicagoland Speedway, excuse me. Yeah. Chicagoland Speedway. I mean, let's clarify that, not Grant Park in downtown.
We saw, and granted, you know, you're on iRacing, and there are parallels between iRacing and real life.
Oh, yeah.
But we saw kind of a preliminary iRacing street race in Chicago. I think it was last year, or was that 2020?
It was last year. Yeah.
It was last year.
And the track is still on there. And I have not got the track, and I will not get that track.
I wasn't that impressed.
No, it's basically when you look at a track map of it on iRacing, it's two squares. Picture it like this. Here's a section. Here's a section. They're put together like this.
Yeah, it's not quite a figure eight. It's like a figure eight that's leaning over one side.
True. Yeah, that's the comparison.
Think of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s number 8 back when he was running the number 8.
Yeah.
It's leaning. You got the top O and the bottom O, but they're kind of cantilevered at 45 degrees.
Yeah, pretty much.
Timmy Hill would be happy. I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Timmy Hill, James Davidson, Jimmy Hand, and
James Davidson was doing fantastic on that iRacing course.
James Davidson won the iRacing race by 20 seconds.
I know, he was killing it. But in the end, I'm just not so certain that this is necessarily the way that we should go. But
no.
I heard some people say, if you want to do a street course, why don't you pair up with IndyCar again and do a weekend in Music City with the Music City Grand Prix? And I understand the sentiment to that, but to me, there are aspects of Nashville that are probably too tight for a Cup car, truth be told.
Agreed.
You're going to need some place that's going to be fairly wide, and I'll grant Chicago's got that with Lakeshore Drive and, you know, all the area around, what is it, Grant Park, I think it is?
Yeah.
You got some pretty wide roads there, but I'm still not sure that this is what we're clamoring for. I'm not sure we're all clamoring for a street race.
Here's where you got to realize this, and a lot of people's not taking this into consideration. Okay, Road America is under the ISC promotional banner.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Normally we would go to him during a commercial break. I'm gonna hope, and I'm gonna try and set Grady up here.
Yeah.
So if he goes ahead and signs on here, maybe we can talk to him about this, and we'll talk to him leading into this commercial break here if he comes on. where are we getting the idea that anybody within the racing world is clamoring for this particular thought?
Right.
And Grady, let's go ahead and bring you in on this since we're talking about this street course race potential in Chicago. Have you heard anybody that's been clamoring for a Cup Series street course race?
No, not one single person, and I would include myself in that group that's not clamoring for a street course race. I would be more inclined to find some other type tracks. You've got a lot of tracks. You've got tracks aren't being utilized in parts of the country. You know, a 3/4 mile type track or some more of that type of racing, to me, would seem to make more sense than going and doing some kind of street race. I don't think NASCAR fans are interested in that.
Sitting next door to Illinois is Iowa, and they've got that track that Rusty Wallace built to look purposely a lot like Richmond. Why wouldn't we go there?
I mean, how good was the racing a couple of weeks ago in St. Louis at a track we hadn't been to? It's phenomenal racing.
So I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about what's happening at the 2.66 mile tri-oval that we like to call our second home.
Absolutely, Talladega Superspeedway, and we've got track laps for charity going on today, and it gets underway in about 17 minutes or so. 9 o'clock is the scheduled start time. You can come out, bring your own personal vehicle, take a couple of laps around the Talladega Superspeedway, 2.66 miles, 33-degree banking. If you've never driven the track, you really can't grasp it. I know you may have been here for 20 years, but if you haven't been on this track and driven around it, then you will get a whole new perspective of it. And if you have done it, well, I know you want to come back and do it again. All the money raised today is going to go to benefit the United Way of North Talladega County, so you're helping out a really worthy cause. It's only $50 per vehicle. And look, you can book more than one session. You can do it more. That'll get you a couple of laps around the Talladega Superspeedway at highway speeds, plus the Talladega Garage Experience open house is going on today, so you can go over to Big Bill's. You can hang out there. You can check out Ruhoff Mortgage Victory Lane, see the Vulcan Trophy that they give out for winning this race here at Talladega. Plus, they got concessions, guys, the value-priced concessions, and I know you two. Y'all be all about that.
Oh, no doubt. But it's like I told Brian a couple of actually last year on this very show. You can't respect the high banks until you feel it. And here's your chance to feel it right here.
Yeah, and you will definitely feel it. They're going to take you through. You'll be able to get up on the banks in your own personal vehicle. You know, they'll have a lead truck and a follow truck behind you. They'll send you out in groups, and it is just a really, really cool experience. And look, for $50, guys, on a Saturday, the weather is Chamber of Commerce. It's actually going to be a little cooler today than it's been for the last week or so. We're going to be at least lower humidity, so it's going to be a pretty pleasant day to be out doing this.
Yeah, and it's a perfect Father's Day gift to get Dad the chance to go out there and put his car out there on Talladega Superspeedway. What better thing to do on Father's Day weekend? There you go. Well, Grady, we'll be talking to you again a little bit more here in just a little bit. We'll talk more about it, okay?
All right, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, you're listening to CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Concrete Basement Walls LLC with 30-plus years experience, featuring seawalls, foundation walls like basement walls, storm shelters.
confirmed Andy Lally set to drive for them in 4 more races this year, all of them road courses. Starts at Road America July 2nd, fills out the remainder of the season's road course races as well. Lally posted on social media, quote, very happy to announce that I'll be doing all the remaining Xfinity road course races with SS Greenlight in the 08. Plenty of room in the car for those interested in sponsoring as well. That was subtle. He's run 1 race in the car so far this year. It was Portland. He brought the car home in 17th. Got another woman getting a chance to run in NASCAR. Alpha Prime Racing has announced that they're going to put Julia Landauer in one of their cars at New Hampshire Motor Speedway on July 16th. You could probably be excused if the name does not ring a bell. Landauer, now 30, is the first woman to have led a lap in NASCAR's Pinty Series. Has also been known to race in the K&N Pro Series West Division in both 2016 and 2017. Was 5th in final points in the 2020 NASCAR Euro Series. Landauer was quoted in a team statement saying, quote, I'm so happy to be racing at this level with Tommy Joe Martins and Alpha Prime Racing. Team co-owner Tommy Joe Martins himself said this, quote, we've been trying to get Julia in our race car all year long. Ever since her days in a NASCAR West car, I felt like she deserved an opportunity at this level. The last woman to start an Xfinity Series race was Natalie Decker. That was back in 2019. She has got only 1 start this season.
All I can say to this is she's in a decent car.
Yeah.
Don't mess it up.
Yeah. I mean, here's your opportunity.
Yeah, she's got a shot.
You know, I mean, we've seen drivers that have had these chances and have taken advantage of them.
Right.
Witness Josh Berry.
Oh, yeah.
For example.
No doubt.
Here's your chance. Knock it out, Julia. Yep. Let's see what you got. Camping World Truck Series, where AM Racing has announced that their regular driver, Austin Wayne Self, is elected to pull himself out of the truck for the foreseeable future. In the wake of his wife giving birth to the couple's first child, a child they named Zeppelin. Zepplyn.
Interesting.
Okay. In place of Self for this weekend's race, Brett Moffitt. I was initially thinking Brett was going to have to figure out a way to hustle from Nashville to Knoxville, but you corrected me. Nashville's next weekend. Knoxville is running all by itself.
Yep.
But he's running for points in the Xfinity Series, so he won't get any points. He'll just be shooting for a win just because he'd like to get the trophy. We all like trophies, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty quick in practice yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. G2G Racing has announced they're bringing back Caden Honeycutt to drive for them in 3 races throughout the end of this year. Honeycutt, who was 18, drove for them in Martinsville earlier this year, but was caught up in a wreck and finished 34th. But owner Tim Vines apparently liked what he saw overall, bringing him back for Nashville tonight, or next week, Richmond and Kansas later on this year. Honeycutt finished 2nd in the Cars Tour points last year, has 2 top 10s in ARCA Menard Series where he ran full-time there in 2019. I am firmly convinced to put Nashville this weekend. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's next weekend. I will get it right. And this, by the way, is the final year of the title sponsorship for Camping World and the NASCAR Truck Series. Now, according to insiders, it may not be extended either. Camping World took over the title sponsorship of the series back in 2019 at about $5 million per season for that honor. The company CEO Marcus Lemonis seemed to hint that a big change was coming when he responded to a social media post back when M&M's announced that they were leaving NASCAR after the season. He posted this, quote, lots of change happening, and I'm sure more is coming.
I don't see this happening. He is so vested in motorsports, period. I can't see that happening.
Well, I will say that I can see it happening because he's going to take that money and move it to another place within NASCAR. I mean, this report...
Question is where?
This report seems to tentatively link Camping World and M&M's, which we know where M&M's is now and is set to leave.
Yeah.
And we know that Joe Gibbs wants to sign a big sponsor to be able to attract Kyle Busch to stay at the 18. Could that big sponsor be Camping World?
Well, he's got a link to Camping World because Camping World locations sell his Rowdy Energy brand. I wasn't thinking of that link there. The link is there, but
I mean, quite frankly, that link could follow Kyle Busch wherever Kyle Busch went.
It could. Very well could. I agree.
So if Kyle Busch stayed at Joe Gibbs, it could be on the 18. If Kyle Busch left and, say, took over the 10 car at Stewart Haas, it could find itself on the 10 car.
Could. Very well could. But I don't know, man. It's a tough call. It's really tough to say because you saw how fast when the Miller Yellow Coca-Cola deal with NHRA went away.
Oh, yeah.
Lamona's was in 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
If even
and
that.
Excited about doing it.
If even that. So, I mean, he's so vested in the motorsports, period. I mean, he's sponsoring Todd Bodine to get into his 800 starts.
Yeah. Last year he opened it up and basically said, anybody that needs sponsorship for a race in the truck series, I'll cover you.
Yeah, and I know how much one of the checks were because he was on one truck that everybody knows I'm real familiar with.
Sure.
And I know how much it was. He put up $32,000.
It's not an insignificant amount of money.
Pretty sure it was $32,000.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch this process play through.
For sure it will. For sure.
Since we got a few minutes, let's wrap up NASCAR for the week. Richmond Raceway's got themselves a new track president. Her name is Lori Collier-Warren. She has very little NASCAR experience, so this is an interesting hire, but according to Chip Weil, a person that we're familiar with, NASCAR Senior VP and Chief Track Properties Officer, quote, Lori is a proven executive with a track record of connecting with customers through strategic planning and execution of events at every stop along her decorated career. Wow. Talk about using some $10 words, Chip. He added this, quote, Lori has deep roots in the state of Virginia and has a great passion to deliver the best experience possible for the fans when they enter the gates of Richmond Raceway. We look forward to an exciting next chapter at Richmond under Lori's leadership. She hails from the Virginia Business Magazine Plus Media set, where she was in charge of media sales, production, circulation, and audience development as their chief revenue officer. It'll be interesting to see how much of that literally does translate over into being the president at Richmond.
I will be interested to see for sure because we saw how that place evolved under Dennis Bittmeyer.
It was,
and we saw it
took off.
We saw it not only on television through social media, but with our own very own eyes.
He puts that track on the right direction. She's got to keep it going down that road.
I will be interested to see with somebody that virtually has zero experience in motorsports, how they take the track forward.
We wish you the best.
Yeah.
NBC Sports taking over coverage of Cup and Xfinity Series technically this weekend, while Fox still has the season-long rights to the Camping World Truck Series. Next weekend, when NBC debuts their coverage, they've let us know who's going to be calling the races. Rick Allen. He's the primary shot caller. He's the Mike Joy for NBC, so to speak. He'll be joined by former crew chief Steve Letarte and two former Cup Series drivers, Jeff Burton and Dale Earnhardt Jr. So really no change. This marks the 5th year that lineup will be together. Studio coverage for pre- and post-race, slight change. Marty Snyder is your host alongside former Cup drivers Kyle Petty, Dale Earnhardt Jr., JTG Daugherty Racing co-owner Brad Daugherty, sitting in the newly titled Peacock Pit Box. That should tell you something. NASCAR and NBC veteran Rutledge Wood is back, but he's got himself a bit of a new role. He'll be spending less time at the track and more time doing something called City View, doing reports from the race's host city or its surrounding area. I'm thinking he's going to find himself at a lot of pretty cool little restaurants.
Probably so, but, thinking ahead when they get here to our little nook of Alabama, where's he going to do a hit from? Chino Mountain? Ball Rock?
Somewhere over here in Anniston. Maybe,
I could
maybe over towards Barbara Motorsports Park.
I could see Chocolaco Park being hit.
I could see it. We'll see. On pit road, following 8 years with the Motor Racing Network as a pit reporter, Kim Kuhn jumps to television. She'll join NBC as a pit reporter, but only for select races. She's not going to be at all of them. Marty Snyder, Kelly Stavast, Dave Burns, Parker Kligerman, Dylan Welsh, all in that lineup as well between Cup and Xfinity. NBC Sports gets 20 Cup, 19 Xfinity Series races. The final 6 races of the Cup playoffs will all be aired on NBC. Expect the USA Network to get a whole lot of the summer races leading up to that, though.
Oh, boy.
I got you.
Don't say it, man. Don't say it. What's that?
Moving on. As for Fox, they seem pretty happy with their half of the Cup and Xfinity Series season. They announced they had an average audience of just over 3.7 million people watching their coverage. That is a 6% increase over the 2021 season. They also noted for the 10 Cup races that they aired on Fox, the main network, they experienced a 10% increase in viewers over 2021, noting an average of 4.59 million people watching, which just tells me put more races on the main network.
Simple common sense there.
One more note when it comes to Fox. You might have noted this if you did indeed watch last weekend's race from Sonoma. Regular analyst Clint Boyer was not in the booth alongside Mike Joy and guest commentator Tony Stewart. Boyer earlier this month was driving near his home in Osage Beach, Missouri, driving down US 54, took an exit ramp when he struck a person that was walking along the road and unfortunately killed the pedestrian. Police records show that the incident happened on June 5th. Boyer, noting what had happened, stopped and immediately called authorities. He was tested on site, found to have no signs of impairment of any kind, and even went so far as to provide a roadside blood sample showing zero trace of alcohol. The pedestrian was identified as 47-year-old Mary Jane Simmons, again died at the scene. She was found to have a substance described as crystalline in her possession. Residents of an RV where she was staying said they felt she likely was under the influence of narcotics on that day. Clint Boyer has not been charged, but I'm sure that it shook him up.
It's been stated that he won't be. Yeah, I saw that report as well, and they clearly stated that he would not be charged with anything.
Yeah.
Because...
But I'm sure it shook him up. I mean, something like that.
I'm sure.
You know, even if it's not your fault, which it appears that he was nowhere near at fault in this. You hit a person. It's got to have an effect on you. You know?
Absolutely, for sure. But ending the segment on a positive note, did you see who was getting their inaugural shot in the booth in Knoxville tonight?
I did see who was getting their inaugural shot at it, and congratulations to her.
Good for her. Yeah, Jamie Whittle's going to be the lead announcer tonight for the Truck Series race.
She's done some ARCA stuff. This will be her first time, I think, doing a
first truck race, but there's nothing that I know of and seen anything with Vince Willis. Vince Willis' daughter got married this weekend, so I think he was taking the weekend off.
Hey,
pretty sure he was taking the weekend off.
That's a pretty good reason, Vince.
That's a real good reason.
We understand it, but hey, go get it.
Yeah, they're mixing the broadcast team up a pretty good bit this week because Heather DeBow is doing pit road reporting this weekend.
Knock it out. Go get it, ladies. I think they'll do a great job. I've always been impressed with Jamie. Always.
Yeah, I mean she's done quite a good job.
Yeah, highly professional. I haven't had the chance to speak to her, but I've had the chance to meet a couple of the ladies that work in and around NASCAR, whether it's pit road or whatever. And Wendy Venturini, you want to talk about the ultimate and professional? Mm-hmm. Had the chance to deal with her a long time ago when I was doing pit reporting for an ARCA Menards race at Talladega, and she and I actually would stop every once in a while, like in the middle of pit road, and we'd just sit there and compare notes. And that was my first time ever doing it. Right, the fact that she would be willing to do that with me, who she wouldn't know from Adam's house cat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. So good day, Jamie. Good luck. We got to take a break. We'll check in with our good friend Grady Sapp, and we'll get into hour 2 of CRN right after this. attention here with myself, Steve West, and Matt Nicholson in studio, talking about the National Hot Rod Association, the NHRA. And even though the season's barely halfway through, NHRA officials are already looking forward to vetting and celebrating the 2022 division champions of the Camping World Drag Racing Series. And they've locked down the location. They're going to do exactly that. And they're not going to have to travel far to do it either. The award ceremony going to take place November the 14th, the day after the season wraps up with the Auto Club NHRA Finals in Pomona, California. They'll be at Pechanga Resort and Casino in Southern California wine country. This is an invitation-only black tie affair. How much do you have to pay John Force to get into a black tie? Traditionally begins with a cocktail reception set to begin at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Formal dinner at 6. Actual award ceremony 7 p.m. Pacific time for Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock motorcycle title winners. And then an after party to wrap everything up. But hey, they just won a title. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to party.
I'm sure they will too.
As for the actual on-track business, it's got a way to go. One of the Funny Car hopefuls is Bob Tasca III, who is unveiling a sponsor he actually has not shown at the track since 2017. It's the family-owned company TascaParts.com. Sponsor's going to be on his Ford Mustang Funny Car this weekend in Bristol. He said, quote, "Our online parts business is a big part of our company. When I saw an opportunity on the schedule to run it again, it was an easy decision. We started Tasca Parts way back in 2008, TascaParts.com, I should say. Growth has been amazing. We sell original factory replacement parts online at affordable prices, really fast shipping, and offering factory parts for Ford and several other OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. It's quickly become one of the largest online OEM parts sellers globally. So if you're looking for something for your Ford or other vehicle, TascaParts.com might be the place to go. Then there's Maple Grove Raceway in Pennsylvania. They're going to host the first of 6 events in the countdown to the championship in mid-September. 2 things of note. First, originally, Pro Stock Car was not supposed to be in the lineup to run that weekend. It has since been added. So all 4 of the Camping World Drag Racing Series divisions are going to race. Fox, which has the season rights to the NHRA, has also announced that they're going to air the finals live in a broadcast that will air right up against the NFL game that weekend. This is pretty big because it gives, depending on where you are, East Coast probably a lead-in. If you're on the West Coast, it'll probably follow. Again, depending on exactly where in the U.S. you might be. It's East Coast, it's an East Coast race, so it's not going to start too late because they're going to want to get the finals in before it gets dark.
Yep.
So probably, this is a guess. It's a pure guess. I haven't seen the schedule yet. Finals at noon Central Time, then a football game? And if you're out west, I don't know. Maybe it's the other way around, truth be told. Maybe it's football game at noon, and then the finals come on at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And if you're out west, then the finals will be first, leading into the football game.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, we're throwing it out there. We don't really know. Last year, Fox did something similar one weekend, and it paid off. So I'm a little surprised they aren't doing this a little more often. When they did an NHRA finals right up against an NFL game, it drew the most viewed event yet for the NHRA and Fox Sports at over 1.5 million people. We're going to do it more often.
Whatever you did then, do it again.
Yeah. Over the years of this show's existence, we've talked about, if you're a gamer, games for NASCAR, obviously. Games for Formula 1 have come in over the last better part of a decade. And we even noted that there's an Indycar video game that's being worked on. But it looks like the NHRA wanted in, and on August 26th, you'll get your chance to buy an NHRA video game called NHRA Speed for All if you have a PlayStation 4 or 5, Xbox Series XS or Xbox One, Nintendo Switch for your PC via stream. Among the things this video game will offer the players, 5 different classes where you can build and race your own cars. Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock Modified, and Super Modified. So at this time, no Pro Stock motorcycle.
I would have put the Pro Stock motorcycles in over the modified.
It was easier for them to deal with the cars first.
Probably so, but that's just me.
Just saying. You can play as one of 38 current NHRA racers, or choose the career mode, play as yourself. Race on a lot of well-known NHRA tracks, In career mode, you'll balance team management, research and development, tuning, vehicle customization, in addition to all the racing. And along the way, get sponsorships with real-life names such as Goodyear, Summit Racing Equipment, Lucas Oil, and many others. The game is available for pre-order now. It's set to retail, base edition, $49.99. There are two other editions, $59.99 or $79.99, where the purchaser will obviously get the base game, but you can get some add-ons, specially designed vehicle models, driver suits, vehicle haulers, parachutes. The top-of-the-line $79.99 version nets the buyer the John Force Racing Pack, which puts you in charge of John Force's very own organization. That might be worth $20 to a couple of people. We'll see.
Some, yeah.
Turning our attention to the Indycar series real quick, we noted that we would get back to the story of Joseph Newgarden and his win at Road America, netting him a $1 million bonus check. That check is actually split in half. $500,000 to him and his Team Penske crew. The other half goes to charities chosen by Newgarden. They are Wags and Walks of Nashville and Serious Fun Children's Network. Both are local to him in his native Tennessee. This is year number 1 of the challenge set up by People Ready Force for Good. Set aside the very first driver that claims a win in each of the tracks that the series, types of the tracks that the series runs. Again, oval track, street course, road course. For Newgarden, to this point of the season, he's actually the only driver to claim multiple wins, much less wins on each type of course that they run on. So congratulations to him. And then Road America's got work to do. Now, we talked about the fact that they're going to get ready to repave this. We talked about it last week. But because of a couple of crashes in some of the feeder series runs leading up to the IndyCar race last weekend at Road America's thinking about modifying turn number 5. Christian Bogle on Indy Lights was on the right side or outside part of the racing line, getting ready to make that turn to the left when his car ran over the curbing that begins actually before the turn starts and then follows the bend of the sharp curve. Bogle's car was launched into the air by the curbing and got caught in the chain link catch fence. Turns out a somewhat similar incident had happened the day before in an Indy Pro 2000 race where driver Lindsey Brewer hit the curbing, got launched into the air, not quite as high, did not hit the catch fence. Good news, neither driver was injured, but Bogle's car was toast. The fence and the fence pole suffered a lot of damage, so those had to be fixed. Brewer luckier. The team was able to actually fix her car. She actually raced in the second Indy Pro 2000 event of the weekend. Track officials say they are considering, at least, removing the curbing, but it could be part of a bigger plan. Track's spokesperson said this, quote, Road America is in the process of conducting a full review, which is standard protocol for all incidents. And then at the request of Chevrolet and Honda, Indy has pushed back the first planned test of the new for 2024 Energy Recovery System, ERS. They're moving it back 1 month. It was initially planned for its first test later this month. Both series engine providers asked for a little bit more time. It was granted. Should allow Chevrolet to work with Ilmor Engineering to get the unit mated properly and Honda Performance Development to do the same with the new 2.4-liter twin-turbo V6 engines that are set to come into existence in racing form in 2024. The engines, without the Mahle-sourced ERS system paired up, have already been tested by Chevy and Honda. Reports from both companies say that they're performed without flaw. Where and when the ERS-included engines are going to be tested was not revealed, but it's expected to have at least one driver from each car maker on hand to do it. We shall see. This is going to be an interesting situation because, as we have noted, IndyCar wants to have these somewhere close to on par with Formula One when it comes to the amount of power they're going to put out, which means we're going to be butting up against 1,000 horsepower in IndyCar. And we already talked about how much speed was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway during testing for the Indy 500 and qualifying for that matter. Records were set. In 2 years, those records could be absolutely shattered.
It's going to be close. It's going to be real close to being shattered. They'll get broke.
Oh, yeah.
It's a question of how far.
They could.
Because 1,000 horsepower is flirting back with the days of when the Penske had the Mercedes V10s.
Mm-hmm. I mean, right now they're putting out a pretty impressive, I want to say 700, 750?
Something like that, and they were topping out at the end of the straightaways even though the trap speeds were unofficial. 250, 251.
Uh-huh. We'll see. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to see it. I really can't. I can't wait to see it. But I said it then, I'll say it now. Right now, you win an IndyCar title, you get 30 points towards the 40 you need for an F1 supercar license. If they make this work at 1,000 horsepower and put the horsepower numbers on target with Formula One, the FIA needs to say if you win an IndyCar championship, you have your F1 super license right there. Mm-hmm. We'll check in with our good friend Grady Sapp and turn our attention to the aforementioned Formula One after this break right here on CRN. Jackson here. Appreciate you checking us out. Here in Alabama, it's going to be a warm one, but probably the best day of the the next couple of weeks or months.
Yeah.
It's about as good as it's going to get, so get out there and take the family out there to Talladega and do some stuff for charity and enjoy a couple of laps out there with the high banks. We're up to Formula One action here on CRN, and as we noted during the race recaps, Ferrari, they didn't have a good day at Baku. They lost both of their own cars, one to overheating, the other with a brake problem, and saw cars from their customer teams, one from Haas F1, one from Alfa Romeo, each have to go out as well, both due to overheating issues. And Ferrari team boss Mattia Binotto said, I know, it's not acceptable. He said this after the race, quote, "We'll take some time to analyze, to understand, and maybe fix some of those issues that are the same as the past events. Maybe not. We need to fix what was the issue. We need to make our power unit stronger for the future." Now, remember, we talk power unit. This is not just the engine itself. This is a hybrid engine with a drag reduction system and all the other computer things that go involved in that. So that's why we're talking about it as a power unit as a whole.
Yeah.
Binotto continues, "It's really early right now. The engines and power units will be back to Maranello. We will analyze and investigate. I'm sure we will find, as a team, a solution. That team has proved that they are capable of addressing the problems." Mm-hmm. Well, Kevin Magnussen of Haas F1 spoke from the team point of view and said this, quote, "We were in a position to score points in Monaco, then had a power unit issue. Today, again, we were in a position to score points, so I'm not really worried about performance. I'm just more worried about the reliability. We've got to stay at it, keep positive. It will go our way sooner or later. I don't know what happened. I lost power. That's what I know, but I don't know exactly what broke, so I gave up. So, yes, unfortunate, but on to the next one." And I get it. The driver doesn't necessarily know everything that happened because it appears that Ferrari doesn't exactly know what happened to their own engines, and they're the ones that built it.
Yeah.
But something's going to have to happen, and it's going to have to happen. And I would, if I'm Gene Haas or if I'm anybody over at Alfa Romeo Sauber, I'm thinking, yeah, let's get to that sooner rather than later. And truth be told, if I'm Binotto, I'm saying the same thing, because your driver started the season out and until just about 3-4 races ago was by far and away the points leader. And now all of a sudden he's sitting in third.
Yep. So we know tomorrow that Leclerc's going to have no better start than 11th.
Yeah. And we'll go back to that as to why, too.
Yeah.
Then there's the issue of porpoising. We talked about that earlier. Mercedes thought that they had it taken care of, but nope. It reared its ugly head once again in Baku. Not only for Mercedes, but for Mercedes it got so bad that the FIA has stepped in. They're looking at potential short-term measures that they might be able to take in order to alleviate the problem. I don't know what they're going to do, but first thing that they state that they're going to look at are the planks and the skids on the underneath of the car. Noted that several cars are not only bouncing, but they're bottoming out. FIA officials have requested teams to find a, quote, acceptable level of vertical oscillations, unquote. In other words, how much porpoising can a car and your driver take? Let's put it into real terms instead of using $10 words, can't we?
I saw something where they set there was a rule change to where the rod heights of the car had to be raised a minimum of 10 millimeters.
It doesn't sound like much, but that might be enough to eliminate the bottoming out.
Possibly.
But we still have to figure out why in the world, because we talked about this earlier. I think we talked about it just before the show started. George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, they're both complaining about how they feel once they get out of the cars. And I can see why. Down one of the long straights at Baku, they showed a camera angle from just over the driver. So the camera was sitting on the above the air intake, and you could see Lewis Hamilton's helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, Baku is not glass smooth, but it's certainly nowhere near as rough as, say, Long Beach for the Indycar cars. God forbid it's nowhere near as rough as Sebring Raceway is. But you're sitting there, you're watching the car do its little bouncing as it's going the better part of 200 miles per hour down this backstretch.
Mm-hmm.
And Lewis Hamilton is jumping up and down like he's on a fast-moving pogo stick. I mean, he is bouncing up and down like he's an excited father waiting for the birth of his baby. But at 200 miles per hour and over the course of 2 hours, that's got to take its toll on the body. And that's why Lewis Hamilton's complaining, and so is George Russell. Because Mercedes, again, other teams are saying that they're having that problem as well, but it doesn't seem to be as bad anyplace else as it is at Mercedes.
Right. This is, go ahead. I'm seeing something here that's kind of confusing to me on this Charles Leclerc deal.
Okay, we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
AlphaTauri driver Yuki Tsunoda is going to have to start from the tail end of the pack tomorrow. His team performed an engine change, triggering the penalty. Due to his issue in the Baku race, his DRS system failed. The team had to replace the components, and it was enough of a change that it brought the penalty into play, so the team decided, hey, we're just going to go with an all-new engine, DRS, and hybrid system. And it's a change that means he's on his 5th exhaust system, his 4th turbocharger, and his 3rd of several other components of the year. You're only allowed 3 of each. So, boom, back of the pack. Charles Leclerc also comes with a new engine and components after Baku due to the old one blowing, but he suffers no specific penalty for this. He has yet to go over his 3 allotted, yet. Neither is Kevin Magnussen, whose engine also blew. The Haas F1 driver still in the rules. No penalty necessarily for that on him, but yet you said Charles Leclerc is going to suffer a penalty.
Yeah, we knew about the engine change because the engine let go.
Sure.
But yesterday, he took on new control electronics for the remainder of the event, saying there's another penalty. So does he have a double grade penalty? Or is it just one?
Maybe he's over on the electronics side of things?
He's previously used control electronics 2. He's now on his 3rd.
Okay. Well, they say you're allotted 3. I don't know.
You're only allowed 2 control electronics.
That's why.
So does he face one single 10-place penalty, or does he have a double?
According to what I read, he is not over on his engine allotment yet. But maybe that reporting was wrong.
I don't know. Yeah, it's really vague.
Yeah. Well, welcome to sometimes conflicting reports.
True.
After the race in Baku last weekend, F1 CEO and President Stefano Domenicali took a flight down to South Africa. He met with officials at the Kyalami racecourse down there, talked about reviving the long-dormant South African Grand Prix. We've been talking about this pretty consistently over the past, give or take, 6 months to a year. The race was last run back in 1993, but that was a one-year basis. It followed the end of apartheid, kind of celebrated it. Before that, Formula One had run at the Kyalami Road Course from 1967 to 1985. Well, all of this is kind of the latest push by Formula One to become a true quote-unquote world championship by racing on all the viable continents. I mean, let's face it, Antarctica is not exactly what anybody would call viable for a race for Formula One.
Yeah.
Africa's been missing from the schedule since 1993, as we noted. 2024 generally considered to be the more realistic when it comes to returning Africa, the continent of Africa, to the F1 slate. But according to some, there seems to be an avenue for a possible return next year. Should South Africa be added to the calendar for 2023, you would hit the 24-race limit that the latest Concord agreement between the drivers' teams and Formula One itself have agreed upon. Qatar's confirmed. We also have confirmed a 3rd U.S.-based race. In addition to Miami and COTA, we've got Las Vegas coming in. China has a contract to host next year, but they haven't confirmed literally anything because of their ongoing COVID-19 issues and doubts. Speaking of doubt, there's some doubt as to Belgium and France. France right now is in the last year of their contract with Formula One. So unless something breaks before the end of this season, France might find itself on the outside looking in, which would be, well, quite frankly, a shame. Same thing for Belgium, truth be told.
Yeah.
But that being said, Domenicali believes that there actually is a future for the French Grand Prix. Maybe just not at where we've been used to seeing it over the past few years, Circuit Paul Ricard.
This is a head scratcher.
It kind of is to me, too. He says instead there's been some talk of maybe putting on a street course race in the city of Nice. Now, if you look on a map,
Nice is really, 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 really close to a pretty historic course.
called Monaco.
Yeah.
And we've heard talk about Monaco either needing to change or finding themselves being left behind, even though it is probably the crown jewel race on the Formula One schedule.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Domenicali really didn't talk about Monaco, but he did say this, quote, historically, France has been an important nation in motorsport. You might not know this, but there is an amazing project with Nice who wants a Grand Prix. It's great, as it proves that other destinations in your country are interested in Formula One. We're going to look at the applications, study them carefully. Other things could come very soon. All I can tell you is by late July, you will know more about the future of your Grand Prix, as if you were talking to just the French people.
I'll say this about Kyalami. I saw pictures of it, and they've kept that course up in really good shape.
Yeah.
To not be around since 1993, nearly 30 years.
Yeah, they've done a very nice job in keeping it up, and that's to their credit. I'm curious as to what street course in Nice you're going to use, and would it actually be better than Circuit Paul Ricard? Because I got to admit, I kind of like Circuit Paul Ricard. I've seen it. It seems nice and wide, and plenty of area for runoff to where you could actually run off the course.
Yeah, that's fast too.
And not have to retire the car because you slammed into a wall.
Yeah, it's a fast course too.
It is.
So I don't get it. Why would you drop your legacy historic races for places that are not really intriguing?
Well, and we got to remember that most of the countries that are on the Formula One calendar are a little bit unlike the United States, whereas the cities, or in this case, the state of Texas, helps Circuit of the Americas in coming up with this. The countries are actually footing a lot of the bill when it comes to the Formula One hosting fee. This may be something within the French government?
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't had a whole lot of faith in the French government. Well, basically, it goes back more than a century, which is older than me.
True.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all kind of falls out. But again, Domenicali's saying by late July, you'll know more about the future of the Grand Prix, which tells me somewhere probably around the month of August, during the Formula One break, we'll probably start to get at least some partial releases of the 2023 schedule, if not the entire release.
Yep.
Maybe it'll just be a preliminary one waiting on the World Motorsport Council to approve it finally. I don't know. But we should start to hear something in August about what the 2023 schedule might begin to look like. We'll talk about it a little bit more because Australia has come into question. Well, maybe it's no longer a question anymore. We'll talk about it when we get back right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
Life in the Anniston-Oxford area just got more exciting with the all-new Coldwater Mountain Brew Pub on Walnut Avenue in historic downtown Anniston. The Coldwater Brew Pub is the destination for local and state craft beer with 24 taps to satisfy any palate. We also have an unmatched variety of food, including barbecue flavors, mixed with delicious pub fare, steaks, and specialty items that are sure to be your favorite. The dining room is huge and family-friendly, and you'll love our outdoor dining area. Coldwater Mountain Brew Pub also offers specialty handmade cocktails and the area's most eclectic selection of world-class bourbons. There's no wrong path to take. Visit the all-new Coldwater Mountain Brew Pub downtown Anniston.
The pre-owned super sale is on at Sarah Honda in Sylacauga. No inflated prices or market adjustments. You heard right. Pre-owned inventory is priced to market. No markups here. Truckloads of hard-to-find vehicles are arriving daily from all over the country and starting at $5,680 with payments as low as $0 down and $125 per month with no payments for 90 days. Example, 2016 BMW 3 Series 330i. Stock number P17408. Sales price $56.80. $0 down, $125 a month for 72 months at 6% APR financing. Excludes tax and fees. No payments for 90 days with credit approval through 53 Financial.
King Auto Corner in Valley, Alabama, taking care of you, the customer, for over 50 years. From sales to service and parts. Small enough to know you, large enough to service you. KingAutoCorner.com, Valley, Alabama. Rack and Roll Billiards and Sports Bar, located in historic downtown Anniston, features 29 TVs, 6 professional billiard tables, dartboards, 16 beers on tap, an extensive liquor selection, and a full menu. Rack and Roll Billiards is open 7 days a week, and make sure you ask about their daily events and their lunch and drink specials. Check out Rack and Roll Billiards on the web and save time by ordering online at rackandrollbilliards.com in downtown Anniston.
For over 22 years, customers have counted on Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning to keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Our top priority is your comfort, from emergency repairs and seasonal maintenance to the installation of our new Ream heating and cooling system. You can count on us. We'll do the job right away. We're Mizell Heating and Air Conditioning, your Ream Pro Partner dealer since 1999. Give us a call today at 256-835-0509. Alabama license number 99110.
Your electric cooperative genuinely cares about the local community. Whether supporting educators and community organizations, recruiting and retaining jobs, or providing scholarships, your cooperative is powering a brighter future. That's because your cooperative is owned by the people it serves. That's different from other companies. That's the cooperative difference. Coosa Valley Electric Cooperative, connecting you with community.
Not like any other place that sells tractors, lawnmowers, and power equipment. It's the Tractor Place in Center. Like us on Facebook at The Tractor Place.
Fuel only, go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yes, we are. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson. Portions of this show being brought to you by our good friends at Ox Foundation Solutions, our good friend Michael Hart out there. Keep in mind these bits of information, these ways of contacting him, because if you have any problem with your foundation, you're going to want to give him a call. 205-362-6419 or by email, mike@oxfoundations.com. And it doesn't matter. If you're anywhere within the state borders of the state of Alabama, he can come to your house and he can take a look at it.
Yep.
Now, yesterday was a very odd day, and welcome to summertime in the Southeast, welcome to the summertime in Alabama, where they state, literally, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, it'll change. We had hot, humid, hazy up until about 4 or 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and then all of a sudden, boom, bottom falls out. In my house, we got about 1.5 inches within about, 20, 30 minutes.
It was roughly about 1 inch in about 30 minutes here.
There you go. This wreaks havoc on the area around your house. And I'm talking about what your house is built on.
Right.
You know, unless you have driven down the foundation of your house into bedrock, effectively you're on Alabama clay.
Yep.
And when you get 1.5 inches in about 30 minutes or an hour, or however much it is, maybe, sometimes more, you're saturating the clay, and then you get a day like today, or a day like's coming up later on this week, where we're predicted about Thursday to get triple-digit temperatures, and it dries that area out. So you get, effectively, mud going into hard-caked clay. That's got an effect on your foundation, and it does it all the time. You need to make sure you know what's going on with the foundation of your house. Don't take any chances with it. It's your family home. It's one of the biggest investments you'll ever make, if not the biggest. 205-362-6419 or mike@oxfoundations.com will come out, give you no cost, no obligation written foundation solution, and he'll tell you flat out, if there's nothing wrong with the house, I'm out. Thank you very much for calling me, and if you have a problem later, give me a call back. But if you got a problem, he'll have it in writing, with the estimate of how much it's going to cost to get it fixed. And if that's your situation, you mentioned the promo code WEST, you get 15% off of the total that he just mentioned. 205-362-6419, mike@oxfoundations.com. Don't forget the promo code WEST, and tell them you heard about it right here on CRN. We're talking about Formula One. We talked about Stefano Domenicali going down to South Africa. South Africa, they want to have it back on the schedule. They want to go back racing on the continent of Africa. It looks like the Kyalami Road Course in South Africa is going to be it. Whether it happens next year or 2024, we don't know.
Right.
We also don't know about the situation with France. And then there's the question of where does Belgium fit in all this, because there's some question about that future. There's one race we don't have to worry about the future of anymore. Australia.
For quite a while.
They're set to remain on the schedule through at least 2035, and the race will remain in Melbourne. This was a deal that was signed on Thursday. The current contract with the Albert Park course was set to run through 2025, And there had been talks that the city of Sydney was expressing some pretty serious interest in becoming the new home of the race, but this deal locks Melbourne in, and assuming that the deal sticks through that year, that'll mark almost 40 straight years that the Australian Grand Prix will be running there. It started in 1996. Before that, it took place in Adelaide from 1985 through 1995, then Calder for the 5 years prior to that, ran in several different courses dating back to the beginnings of Formula One. The contract does not call for the Aussie GP, however, to lead the season in each and every one of these years. Traditionally, it had been, but that seems to have been taken over by and large by Bahrain. But over the course of the new contract, in other words, through 2035, Australia will get to lead off the season at least 5 times. Again, likely trading off with Bahrain. So it will continue to run early on in the season, even if it doesn't lead everything off. In addition, expect the undercard of races leading up to the Formula One Showcase event to include, for the first time, both Formula 2 and Formula 3 and the Australian V8 Supercar Series. That'll be a heck of a weekend for Australian race fans.
Pretty stout one. There's no doubt.
I would agree.
That would be worth the trip, but I don't want to ride on a plane to Australia.
That's a long plane trip.
Yeah.
I've known people that have taken it.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I've said this, and you've taken this trip as well. Maybe not the exact same route. But when my wife and I went to Hawaii, we honeymooned in Hawaii, welcome to the cliche. 2002, Birmingham to Dallas. This will tell you the airline we flew on. Dallas to Honolulu.
Good old AA.
Uh-huh. Dallas to Honolulu is an 8-hour leg. By about the 6-hour mark, I'm getting up and walking around the airplane because I'm starting to go a little nuts sitting inside a tube.
Yeah.
That's to Honolulu. Think about having to make the hop, more than likely, from Los Angeles to Sydney or Melbourne or wherever it is that you're going within Australia. That's at least a 12-hour leg.
If not more.
At least.
What's that? Well, just for fun.
Sure, look it up.
Let's just see for fun here.
Let's check in book from Birmingham, Alabama to Sydney, Australia.
Let's just say from LAX to Sydney.
All right, sure, why not? LA to Sydney. If you're on Qantas Airlines and a good old-fashioned Airbus A380. The big boy.
Biggin.
Yep. Because it's either going to be that or a 747.
Oh, 747 just about over day.
That's true. But still, it'd be one of those two.
It would be either 780, it'd be either A380 or 787. Maybe 777. Going, you're looking at a grand total of 14 hours and 40 minutes.
Ouch. That's a long time to be in a tube.
1440 on a 787.
That's a long time to be in a tube.
13 hours and 42 minutes on an A380.
That's a long time to be in a tube, boys and girls.
It is. Oof. And I thought 5.5 from LAX to Honolulu was bad.
Yeah, that was a run. I was thankful that we took the red eye on the way back because we flew from Honolulu to LA to Dallas, Dallas to Birmingham, and the Honolulu to LA was the red eye, so we slept. I did.
The two trips I've made on Hawaii on those flights. First trip, this will tell you, kids will remember Continental. Birmingham, Houston, Honolulu.
Sure. Which is an 8-hour hop.
Honolulu, Houston, Birmingham, coming back. Red-eye flight. We'll never do a red-eye like that again. Second one, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Honolulu. Gotta tell you which one I'll do.
Sure.
Coming home, Honolulu, Seattle, Atlanta. If you hear the words SeaTac is pathetic, it's true.
Yes, you and I both know that as well. Let's have a little fun here, shall we? McLaren driver Lando Norris opened up something akin to a Pandora's box earlier this week. He compared Formula One to both Indycar and NASCAR and summed it up by saying, quote, "We're much cooler than NASCAR and Indycar as well." He got to talking to syndicated radio sports host Dan Lebitard, and when asked about what he thought about Formula One in the U.S., he made that statement and backed it up by noting last year's U.S. Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas was the most attended Formula One race in American history. It was the most attended race weekend in Formula One of 2021, with some 400,000 people coming in over the course of 3 days, mind you. That is a combination of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if you split it evenly, which is probably not the case, but let's split it evenly just for ease of math, and I'll give a slight edge to Sunday, and we'll say 150,000 people came on Sunday.
Yeah.
He failed to note, again, 400,000 is a cumulative total. Indy 500, sellout this year. 300,000 plus for the race itself. And keep in mind, NASCAR doesn't release official numbers, but estimates for the Daytona 500, remember, they can fit 123,000 plus in the grandstands alone, and then you count the people that are in the infield, you're probably edging on the better part of 200K.
You're close. You're very close.
And then our friends over here at Talladega.
Yep.
108,000 people in the grandstands, and all the people in the infield.
Mm-hmm.
If you're basing it solely on the number of people coming out, I got news for you. Circuit of the Americas, it's competitive, but it ain't the coolest.
Nope.
Reaction on social media was, well, shall we say, not necessarily on the Norris's side either. IndyCar driver Connor Daly put on a social media post that just looked at him and said, come on, man, with a smack your forehead emoji. Fans of either of the American-based series also chimed in. One posted, yes, because watching Formula One drivers not pass in an entire race is so cool. Formula One is one of the most boring racing series in the world. There's no passing the whole race. It's just follow the leader. We've done this. We talked about this a few years ago. I think it was 2019, where we found a report that stated that Formula One, over the course of the 2019 season, had 78 passes for the lead.
78.
Talladega 2010 had how many passes for the lead? Official passes for the lead. In other words, changed at the start-finish line. How many passes for the lead in one race?
Steve West, that would be 88.
There you go. The reaction should be promoting motorsports as a whole. This one I agree with wholeheartedly. Typical F1 drivers just absurdly self-centered. Growing IndyCar, growing NASCAR can lead to growths in other racing. Growing Formula One can lead to growing IndyCar. I agree with that totally. Then there was this one. This one I found an interesting point. IndyCar is the most competitive series in the world. That could be argued, but I'll let you have it. Ask Romain and Marcus, Romain Grosjean, Marcus Ericsson, how going over to IndyCar from Formula One has worked for them. They're both quite happy, let's just say that.
Yeah, I said Marcus Ericsson got 3.1 million reasons.
Another one, LOL, yeah, I'll gladly watch the other two any day over Formula One. The racing is always better. And finally, F1 is unwatchable. It's growing in popularity because of a well-produced, intriguing Netflix show, not because of the product itself. I'll admit, I like watching Formula One, but the truth of the matter is, they're right. There is so much less passing in Formula One than you'll ever get in IndyCar or NASCAR.
Now, when you get... When was it? Shoot. A couple weeks ago, when I told you that all four of the the top four, you could throw a blanket over them.
Sure.
That was the tightest F1 race I've seen in a long time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, Saudi Arabia last year in Jeddah, that was a good race.
I mean, recently we just talked about how Max Verstappen, might have been in Baku, beat his teammate by 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
By the way, over in France, in case you missed it, they ran the prestigious 24 Hours Le Mans last weekend. For the fifth year in a row, Toyota won the overall title with New Zealand native and former F1 driver Brendan Hartley behind the wheel at the time the checkered flag was shown, running the Toyota Gazoo Racing number 8. His co-drivers, another former Formula One driver, Sebastian Buemi, with a sports car regular, Ryo Hirakawa. Notable was the finish of the United Autosports Oreca 07 entry in the LMP2 category. Teaming with drivers Oliver Jarvis and Alex Lynn was Josh Pearson. Pearson is an American-born racer, and he became the youngest driver ever to compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. 16 years, 188 days old. And he's already racing in the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Wow.
And they were 6th in their division. So the kids are pretty good.
That's respectable.
Congratulations to them. Quite the race. I had the chance to check out a couple of hours of it here and there.
Mm-hmm.
USA Network had a lot of it. So it's good stuff. I like that track. I'd hate to have to race it 24 hours, but it's pretty cool. And then one more note. We have talked on this show really since the beginning of the year, but going back to last year as well. Steve O'Donnell and NASCAR as a whole have said that they're in talks with a couple of other manufacturers about expanding out the number of car makes that are within NASCAR.
Sure.
You got Ford, you got Chevy, you got Toyota. Dodge was in until 2012. Been a lot of speculation as to whether Dodge will come back. We don't know. They might. They certainly would have what you need to compete in all three divisions. Charger, Challenger, and Ram pickup trucks.
Sure.
Because we're figuring if a make is going to come in, they're going to want to do all of it. So who does that leave other than Dodge? It leaves Nissan. They've got the Titan. And Honda, because they've got the Ridgeline. We've heard rumors about Volkswagen, but we're not sure what, if anything, that they would do to try to enter the pickup truck area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not so certain Volkswagen's it. But that has led to not just speculation, but unfortunately people going out there and saying, hey, look at this.
Yeah. Where do I start?
Just because you see a mock-up of it on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
Doesn't mean it's true. Thank you.
Yeah. Just because it's on the internet don't mean it's true.
Just because the same individual decides he wants to do a mock-up of the Project 91 Trackhouse car with SiriusXM and AutoNation with Simon Pagino.
Mm-hmm.
He does a mock-up with Sergio Perez and Red Bull on the 91 car.
Mm.
He does... we're about to be done. I don't want to get mad, but I'm going to. Dude, stop doing this garbage just for clout.
Yeah.
Just to think that you're somebody.
The latest one that seems to have everybody going is he did a mock-up of a new Dodge, quote-unquote, new Dodge Challenger with the number 2 and Verizon on it. In other words, Austin Cindric and Team Penske. Mm-hmm. Now, Team Penske was the last team, notably, to be running Dodge in NASCAR. I doubt seriously Roger Penske is going to go back to Dodge if Dodge comes back in.
Yeah. My point is, stop doing this garbage.
Yeah.
Until a team says, hey, will you mock us up a concept of this car that we're going to run? When they do that, then you put it out there. Don't put out this little fantasy land garbage junk. I mean...
You make everybody think that, you know something that they don't.
Exactly.
Trust me, when NASCAR announces it, it'll be out there. We'll know.
Thank you.
And again, I doubt seriously if Dodge or Honda or Nissan or whoever comes in. I'm kind of doubting Team Penske is going to move. I think they're quite comfortable where they are in NASCAR with Ford.
Yep.
Another Ford team might. Maybe. But again, we got a long way to go and nobody's signed any contracts, so settle down.
Yep.
We'll be back again next week, talk about all the results of this week and the schedule and all the news of the week. Y'all have a great week. Enjoy the racing. We'll talk to you next week on CRN.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
You already know Sylacauga Marine